Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review. Today I'm looking at the latest release from Rapido. Today's product must be cursed or fated or something because it's had a very troubled release. First of all, this happened. And so all of the affected models have had to be unpacked and checked, and new boxes have had to be made and new parts have had to be made to fix the damaged models, and of course this has delayed the release. Now that the models have been released, it's been discovered that there are faulty components in the lighting circuits which apparently burn out when used and can even damage the models, and so Rapido have issued a complete recall of every single product in the range. Customers are having to send the models back to Rapido to have them repaired. Now I've got one of these and I am going to be sending it back as per the recall, but I thought before I do I would sneak in a review. So the product is this, the Dynamometer car 2.0. And if you haven't heard of a dynamometer car before, interesting word by the way, then stay tuned because they are very, very fascinating vehicles in real life. Now, the RRP for this model is £135.95 and I bought mine from Hatton's for £118.96. Now, that sounds like an awful lot of money for a coach, doesn't it? But two things. First of all, let's take a look at this coach before we say that, because I've heard that these are absolutely amazing and unprecedented in their level of detail and the features. Second of all, you'll notice on the front of the box this is Dynamometer car 2.0, and yes, this model has been available before. It used to be exclusive to rails and it was announced back in 2017. Back then the price for this was £125, which means that now, 5 years later, it's around £6 cheaper. But more than that, if we adjust for inflation, this model is now more than £30 cheaper than it was originally. Now, bear in mind, I still bought this from a retailer at £118, and at that price they still would have made a profit on this model, which just goes to show how crazy the markup must have been on these models when these were available the first time around for so much more money. And this is kind of why I wish manufacturers wouldn't bother doing exclusives, unless of course they can guarantee that the customer gets a fair price. And you've got to think, how do the people who bought this model the first time round feel now? They spent an incredible amount of money on this, thinking it was exclusive, thinking it was a one-off, and now they'll be able to see that there is a new and improved version of the model going out to all retailers and for significantly less money. Yeah, there's my little rant on exclusives. Of course, it's not all retailers that have exclusives. Some of them charge very reasonable prices indeed, and I think that's fine. As long as they're not taking advantage, no problem at all. Anyway, let's take a look at the new Dynamometer car. We'll take a look at the model. I'll tell you all about the prototype, and hopefully this won't burn my house down when I test it, which I shouldn't really do, but I'm gonna. Okay, let's give it a try. Even though this is now much cheaper than it was when it was a heavily marked up exclusive, and even though I've heard that this is an incredibly detailed model, this is still, I think, the most expensive coach by a long way that I've ever tried. So obviously I do have very high expectations, but I'm also really looking forward to seeing what sort of features this model has. I've seen a few photos, but I've never seen one in person, so this ought to be really fascinating. Let me show you the end of the box then. So the version I have is Dynamometer car. It's number 935001. I think that's the product code. The running number of it is 23591. It's in the LNER livery, and they've even let us know the period. So 1928 to 1938 condition. And I think that is basically all there is to see on the box. So for the first time, I'm going to lift the lid and take a look. Nice quality packaging for a coach, I think. Oh, and there it is. Reasonably small coach as well. Yeah, not a massive thing as per the prototype. All right, go on then. Let's see if we can get this out. Hopefully this is the way to do it. All right, we do have some sort of paperwork in here. What on earth is this? Some sort of sticker. Well, if you want to put that on your shirt or something, you will look very special indeed. Fantastic. Right, Dynamometer car 2.0, owner's manual. All right, so let's see what's involved then, shall we? All right, this opens up. First of all, a bit of prototype history, and pause and read that if you'd like to. And what on earth is this diagram? When I first saw this, I thought this was like maybe some of the data that the dynamometer would record, but apparently the drawing shows the original Northeastern Railway arrangement of the dynamometer car. Well, all I see is a load of squiggles. If you see anything else there, do let me know. Loads more information here. Look at this. You can see a bit of what the car looks like inside in real life, which is quite interesting. Let's see more about the model then. All right, there's a bit about unboxing the model, so this could be important. Your dynamometer car model has many freestanding detail parts. Please use care when removing the model. Yeah, that makes sense. Optional parts, we've got some optional vacuum pipes, which can be glued on apparently. There are scale couplings too, which is great. There's also etched end screens as well, which can be glued onto the ends of the coach. There's a bit about interior lights. Yes, the faulty ones that apparently burn out. We'll see if that happens. Your dynamometer car has a highly detailed interior with more decoration than most goods wagons. Wow, that's quite the claim, isn't it? In order to better see all the interior bits, your model is fitted with working lights, which illuminate using track power. But there is a switch, and it says the lights are turned on and off with the magic magnetic wand included with the model. To turn the lights on, wave the magnetic tip once over the switch hidden in the roof. To turn the lights off, wave it again. Okay, that makes sense. Then we've got an exploded diagram, and I think this begins to explain why this model should be relatively expensive. Look at this. I've got locos that are less complex than this, and this doesn't even have a drive mechanism inside it. So, absolutely astonishing. Can't wait to see that. And then a bit more information on the end there, a bit about the warranty, etc, etc. Right. So there's no special instructions really for unpacking the model, other than just to be quite careful with it. So we'll do that. Let's take a look. So I think we just pop the front off. And I can, oh, hang on, the accessories are not inside. All right, so sealed bag. We have got those etched end parts. Looks like some ducats or something. We have got the painted vacuum pipes and also the screw-link couplings. So fantastic amount of customization there. Again, there are locos out there that don't come with the screw-link couplings, so that's good to see. Let's have a look at this magic wand then. So yeah, it literally is just a bit of plastic with a magnet on the end, and presumably there's a reed switch inside the roof which allows the lighting to be controlled. But yeah, it's not too bad. It means that you're not stuck with the lights on all of the time, and I guess it's a bit easier than using an actual physical switch. I don't think you'd want it for a whole rake of coaches, but as a one-off, yeah, I think it's all right, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look then. Let me figure out what's going on with this. Is it a bag? Oh, I think it's just wrapped up. Okay. Wow. God. All right. So this is just something else, isn't it? And funnily enough, it is the teak finish that is really standing out for me. Look at that. That is such a fantastic teak finish. I've never seen a finish like that before. And, you know, it's semi-glossy, very, very satin. The decoration looks amazing and relatively complex. Externally, there is an awful lot of detail. I mean, just look at this thing. That is absolutely insane. The underframe is unbelievable. Look at that. An incredible amount of detail under there. The wheels are nice and free turning. It looks like they've got axle point pickups. And look at the clerestory style roof as well. Amazing detail in the little windows up there. Cool. Yeah, and lights and interior detail as well. So value for money really seems about right. This is about the same price as an 060 tank engine or something like that, and that seems to make perfect sense on first glance. Cool. A coach unlike any other, folks. Right, so we'll take a much closer look at the level of detail in just a moment, but first of all, here's a bit of background on the dynamometers in real life. This dynamometer car was famous for having recorded the record-breaking 126 miles per hour run of A4 Mallard in 1938. To do so, the dynamometer car uses various scientific equipment and apparatus to measure the performance of the locomotives hauling it. As well as being able to accurately measure speed, they could also measure pulling power and various other statistics. Nigel Gresley used the car extensively to test his locomotives and the various modifications he made to them, and then following the demise of the LNER, the car passed into BR ownership, where it continued to be used for some years before the technology on board became obsolete. Today, the car is preserved at the National Railway Museum in York, where it can be seen alongside the locomotive that made it so famous, Gresley's Mallard. So there it is, up close and personal for you, the truly outstanding Rapido Dynamometer car. And this is an example of an extremely expensive model that is worth every penny. The price is absolutely reflected in the complexity, the level of detail, and the sheer number of separately fitted parts. Yeah, I knew this was going to be a special model, but I was still unprepared for just how awesome this thing is. The weight comes in at 131 grams, so it's not massively heavy. It is largely plastic construction. The chassis and everything, I believe, is just plastic. But that's not to say that this is in any way a low quality model, because you're about to see just how many separately fitted parts this thing has, yet they're all applied with the utmost precision. There's no visible glue, there's no wonkiness to any of them that I've spotted. It really is just awesome. But first of all, let's talk about the decoration, because looking at the model a little bit closer reveals how this was achieved. So it looks as though the teak effect is printed on, because you can kind of see the pixels from the printing process there. Now clearly it looks absolutely rubbish up close, but these shots are quite cruel from any sort of distance. As you can tell, really, it does look much better. Now, some companies like Hornby might decide, since they're using that printing process, to do all of the decoration like that. But looking at the lining and the lettering and numbering and such, I can't see those sort of printed pixels on those, which suggests that these painted details have been printed on in the usual way, which ensures that they look good even up close. And as you can see, they really do. Yep, the decoration is absolutely awesome. And it's not just the sides of the bodywork either. You can see the roofs use several different colours. We've got the grey, the sort of reddish colour that's on the chassis, and also the painting on the windows there. These clerestory windows are, I think, real windows. You can kind of see through them, but they've got all of that printing on them. That is just outstanding. And the chassis also has quite a bit of paintwork on it. Great finish on it, even though it's made of plastic, and you've got little gauges, various lettering and such. Yeah, very, very, very complex. You've got some of the instruments on the underframe of the coach, which are also separately painted with quite a bit of detail to them. That looks fantastic. And there's a lot of detail going on at each ends. We'll start with this end first because they are different. Again, lots of painted detail here, including various pipework, lettering, levers and switches and that kind of thing. You've got this etched piece on the end of the door. The buffers are separately fitted and sprung. Yeah, sprung buffers. I'm not really surprised, frankly, but still, it's another addition to the massive list of features. The other end is completely different, as I said, and even more complex, if anything. The corridor connector looks very, very convincing, doesn't it? Lots of different paintwork on that. It's got the steps on the back, as well as some grab irons, it looks like, and a whole wealth of other details besides. Each end also has a kinematic NEM coupling on it, and these are the good sort, the sort that don't get stuck, so that ought to be good as well. Good quality couplings. The model is also finished off with loads of separately fitted handrails and grab rails. Across the roof, you've got a fair few of them. On the corners of the coach, these are all separately fitted and made of metal. The footboards are all separately fitted etched parts as well, quite a few of those. Pipework along the chassis. The door handles and the railings around the doors, those appear to be separately fitted. It's just absolutely bonkers. It really is insane. Look at the detail along the roof. You've got the little vents on there, all very, very intricate. The bogie detail is second to none. You can see all the springs and the axle box detail. And here's a close look at the underframe as well. Again, seems to be a good number of separately fitted parts here, which is absolutely astonishing. And folks, all of this without even mentioning the interior. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the roof comes off easily. It may be that there's an easy way to get it off, but it doesn't seem obvious to me, and I certainly don't want to damage anything. So we are going to have to make do looking at this from the outside, but still, hopefully you can get a sense of just how much there is going on inside here. Yeah, they're not kidding. There are all of the instruments. You've got a wall here with so much detail on it, separately fitted parts, seats, tables. It's just insane, isn't it? So this is a very, very expensive model, but I have to say it doesn't seem overpriced. You pay all of that money and you can see in the model where that money has been spent, and that is so reassuring. Again, don't mind paying a fortune for models if they are this good, and this one really is fantastic. So I'm sure that I haven't addressed every detail on this. There's probably a whole load of stuff I haven't talked about, but hopefully that should give you a sense of the level of detail. Now then, let's move on to the performance section. I'm slightly nervous about this, but we'll give it a go. I've got a fire extinguisher, so we'll see. Yeah, let's find out how free rolling this is. Let's look at the performance. So there it is, Rapido's awesome dynamometer down onto the track. The first question is, how free rolling is this coach? And the answer is very free rolling. On the Gordon's Hill rolling test, it rolled all the way down towards the bottom, which is very good indeed. And that just goes to show that pickups for lights don't have to create loads of drag. So when other manufacturers tell you that their cheapo battery-powered lighting solutions are necessary due to the drag that would otherwise be present, you can safely ignore that. Next then, I'm going to test the lights. Now, I'm doing this strictly for the purposes of the review. Rapido have advised that there are faults with the lighting circuits, and that's why they've issued the recall. So if you've got one of these, you don't want to apply power to it because it could damage the model. I'm doing this for the sake of the review because that's why I bought the model. I am prepared though, so no worries. Hopefully it won't be a problem though. Also bear in mind there will still be a voltage across various components even if you don't have the light switched on. If you're applying power to the coach, then some of the electrical components are going to get power. Anyway, let's see what happens then. I am going to apply some power to the coach. Okay, and the lights are on, but they're rubbish. I can't actually tell that they're on. Now, could that be a fault? Could that be just as they are? Let's try the magic wand. I can't actually tell because they're so dim. Has that gone off? No, they're still on. No. Well, they're still on, aren't they? Where is this reed switch then? No, it doesn't work at all. So the lighting system is obviously completely faulty. Yeah, it's just not functioning as it should be, is it? Alright, well let's turn the lights off then, see if we can get some sort of response. Right, let's try again. Yeah, I mean, still not good, are they? Yeah, you can't really see it. It's a little bit better in the dark, I would say, but still not great. Now that we can actually see the lights working, can I get the reed switch to engage? It's just not working at all, so yeah, definitely faulty. And I mean, they say that this was a third-party component that has failed, so it's not something that Rapido have manufactured that doesn't work properly, but still, if they had some quality control, then this issue could have been avoided, because a quick test of this coach with the magic wand would immediately reveal something was wrong. And on this occasion, that has cost Rapido very dearly, because it's not going to be cheap to have people return their models and have them repaired. Rapido are going to have to cover the postage costs. It's going to be a lot of their profits gone. But yeah, that's a shame. Lights very, very dim, and the magic wand tool thing doesn't work. Anyway, let's try the performance. So the choice of locomotive for this test was very obvious indeed. No better choice than Mallard for this one. So let's back her up. Let's see how the couplings function. Now let's make sure the coach stays on the track and works as it should, besides the lighting. All right, so that looks like a successful coupling. And this is cool, and this is kind of just how it looks at the National Railway Museum. That's very, very cool. All right, shall we give it a go then? Should be nice and easy to haul because it is so free rolling. So let's give it a try. Here we go. Here we go then. Let's see how it handles the various curves. Yeah, nicely. No derailments, so again that suggests that the kinematics are working correctly. I'm pleased to see that the lights have been on and off quite a bit and mine haven't burnt out. That's not to say everything's fine though, because clearly that magic wand and the reed switch is not working, so I will still be sending this back. Obviously I would recommend you do the same if you're in the same boat, because if there are faulty components there, you don't know how long they're going to last. And this is still a very expensive model. Obviously you don't want to have it fail after an unreasonable amount of time, so yeah, definitely take Rapido up on their offer to repair the faulty models. But that aside, it really doesn't take away from the fact that this is one of the most remarkable models that I've ever owned, and that's no hyperbole, that's no exaggeration. It really is something else, isn't it? The interior detail is unlike any coach I've ever seen, and this Monday's Bachmann Auto coach is just completely shown up by Rapido here, because the external and interior detail is so much better here, and it just shows what is possible on a model like this. Yeah, it is absolutely amazing, isn't it? And, you know, hopefully within a reasonably short amount of time, they will make the repairs and get the models back out to people, and then we can enjoy them. And as soon as I do get mine back, obviously I will return to you and show you it working. Maybe the lights will be brighter. Yeah, maybe they'll work better once repairs have been carried out. Obviously, it wouldn't be fair to pass a final judgment on the lights, as we know they're not working correctly. Whether they're going to be brighter and better when they're fixed, I'm not sure. But again, we'll find out. But yeah, absolutely awesome coach. All right then, let's just do the usual points test to make sure everything works as it should in reverse over points. Obviously, this is a worst case scenario for any sort of coach, so if it can pass this, I'll be truly satisfied. Here we go. Yeah, looks quite good. I don't know, did that rear bogey of the coach come off? Let's check. Yeah, it is derailing there, unfortunately. There we go. Oh dear, that's a catastrophic fail right there. So yeah, is it the... Ooh, it's even shut the points, blimey. Let's have another go manually by hand. Okay. Yeah, that wheel's coming off there. You see that? Quite reliably. So is it the kinematics maybe? Are they not as good as I thought? Let's try it the other way around. I've swapped its direction. Yeah, it's okay that way, isn't it? One more try. I have noticed that on one bogey in particular, the one that's derailing, there's very, very little rocking forwards and back. Maybe that's why, because the flanges are quite fine. Let's try again. Seems okay in that direction. Let's try again. Yeah, no, it's off. There we go. So yeah, that's multiple points derailing in the same way. So yeah, not fantastic that. I reckon the bogey could do with a little bit more forwards and back motion, because as you can see that is very, very stiff. There's very little there and the flanges are quite fine. So quite sensitive to certain types of track work. If you've got professionally laid track, it should be absolutely fine. If you're not going across points, again, it's fine. This is working perfectly on my layout under normal circumstances. But if your track work is a little bit uneven and if you're expecting it to go over points, if yours is anything like mine, you might get some derailments. Let's have some ratings then for the Rapido LNER Dynamometer car. The level of detail, I don't think I even need to explain, but just for the record, definitely a 5-star. Outstanding external detail, and the cherry on the top is the interior detail as well, which is all amazing. It does have lighting, doesn't work very well on this example, but when they're working as intended, I assume the lighting will be okay. Yeah, absolutely fantastic level of detail. Performance, a couple of issues with this. Obviously, the fact that the lighting and the magic wand doesn't work properly is a cause for concern, although clearly the model I have is not functioning as intended, and I might update this score once my model's been replaced to reflect how the lighting works then. but it's my policy to review models exactly as they are, so it does lose a point for that. And honestly, if the manufacturer had tested these models, they would have been able to find these issues before they went out to the customer, which I think is worth doing, particularly if there are electronics which are overheating and burning out, because you don't want customers to end up with a dangerous product in their house. So I'm fairly sure that Rapido will be testing each and every one of their models moving forward, just to make sure this never happens again. So similarly in that strain, I'm also knocking off a star for the slight performance issue, because I feel I've proved quite conclusively that my example is having derailment issues on points. Now, your mileage may vary, maybe other models are not like this, and maybe my setup is to blame because clearly my track is not brilliant, but I tested this on multiple points and had the same results, and every coach and wagon I review undergoes the same test, and yet it's very rare to find derailments. So I do think I'm justified in knocking off a star. I will test this again when I get the model back after its repairs and feedback, but at the moment it's a 3 for me. The quality is a 4-star. I'm not knocking off any more points for the lighting issue because I covered that under performance and I'm sure that will be fixed. Otherwise, the quality is fantastic. The way the model has been assembled is very, very good and clean and tidy. I do think the decoration up close doesn't look fantastic. The teak effect under closer inspection doesn't look great. And the chassis and everything is just made of plastic here, so the model's not ever so heavy. But these are very minor things, so I've only knocked off 1 star. Value for money then, it's a bit of a shocker, but I am giving this 5-star. Because this rating is not about how much a model costs, it is value for money. And so while this is very expensive, and it is much more expensive than any other coach I've ever reviewed, I think it's worth it because the features, the level of detail, they are unprecedented, and so I do think you get what you pay for. So it's a 5-star, and that is an overall score of 9.11 out of 10. That's very impressive. Let's put it into the logbook, and there it is, 3rd place above the Bachmann 55-ton hoppers and below the Bachmann blacksmith car. Without the small number of issues I found with this model, I do think this would be top of the ranking. Well folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this review. I do think this is the best item of rolling stock I've ever reviewed. The level of detail is far beyond that of anything else I've reviewed, and that probably includes locomotives as well. I mean, in 00 scale, the number of models with this complex an interior is very few. I can't think of any, in fact. So, well done Rapido, this really shows what you guys are capable of. And thank you for producing such a wonderful model, such an unusual, rare model, for such a reasonable price, so that anybody that wants one can enjoy one. It's not dirt cheap or anything, but you absolutely get what you pay for, and that's all you can ask for. So, thank you very much folks, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm sorry if my voice has been a bit strained, I've got the old COVID plague again. But we carry on, as everybody does, so no worries there. Be right as rain soon enough. Anyway, thanks for watching folks. I'll catch you next time.